So yes, this is a South African cricket podcast slash cricket show, but the Border-Gavaskar Trophy is possibly the biggest bit of cricket going on at the moment because of all the implications for everyone else in the World Test Championship. Now, we thought that Australia or India or both were definitely going to be in that World Test Championship final. But things have changed very dramatically in recent times with the performances of Sri Lanka, South Africa to some extent, and even New Zealand in India. Now, India go to Australia. They've got a very good record against Australia in recent times. But what is going to happen now with all the issues surrounding that batting lineup, a few bowling changes, and some youngsters coming into the side? This is going to be a preview of that series, starting with the first test at Perth, the new Perth Stadium. And we're going to get stuck into our predictions, who we think the likely lineups will be, and all the little nitty-gritty issues that we think are going to be very prominent in the series, including whether Virat Kohli is going to come good and retain his status as the king of cricket, or at least as the Australians see it that way. Now, the boys are going to tell me what they think and get stuck straight in there about this series. What do we think, boys? First test at Perth. How do we think India are going to start the series off?
I'm excited for the series. I think with all the media build-up as well, with India training in incognito and hiding in the nets and sort of telling the sort of workers at the stadium that they cannot watch or banning the media and stuff like that. I think that's added a bit more fire. And then also during sort of the India A games with the ball tampering incident, that the umpires said, they changed the ball because they believed there was ball tampering, and then all of a sudden the BCCI, I'm assuming, stepped in and said, "Well, listen,
it was a hand warmer.
If you guys continue down this narrative, we'll be on the first flight back home." And that sort of added some spice there. I think a lot of the the Australian media has painted this Indian side as children, petulant, and those kind of things. And I think it's going to be a great series. Looking at the lineups, I think Australia definitely have the more settled lineup. I think the only guys that miss out in this 13-man squad is probably Inglis and Scotty Boland, but the rest of them should start. India, like you said, tough choice on that batting lineup.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think India have more questions to answer, especially after the New Zealand series. Like most South Africans, these are two of the teams that we hate. I think me personally, my hate for Australia is a bit deeper. So I hope India bounce back. They're a wounded Bengali tiger at the moment, so you never know what you're going to get. They might just spring some surprises and put in performances. Their last two tours of Australia, they had some batting depth. Pujara was instrumental in their last series victory. I saw an interesting stat. What was it? Like Manus was the top run scorer in the last series, and he outscored Pujara by like 155 runs. But Pujara faced 78 more balls in him. So that ability to soak up pressure is something that I think this Indian team, they kind of fall short on with their gung-ho approach. But you never know. I mean, it might pay off. I see there's a lot of talk about Jaiswal in the short ball. I just think that it might be a brilliant opportunity for him to prove all of those people wrong. If he can navigate the short ball, then I think he has a very good chance of doing well, because he's one of those players that also likes the ball coming onto the bat. He's got excellent timing. So he can give India some good starts up on the top there. So it's going to be a very interesting series, very intriguing. And I think it's definitely going to come down to a battle of the batting lineups, especially on these Australian wickets.
So, Coombs has decided to join us finally. He's not doing too good. He currently has no face showing on screen because he looks like a troll, which he is, and we're going to leave it at that. Now, we need to talk about the batting, as we had initially been talking about before he jumped in. That batting lineup, a bit of an issue there. Of course, Shubman Gill's injury now in training, possibly a fractured finger. I don't know how they think he's going to make the second test. He should be out for at least 6 weeks, but if he does come back, all good for them. Rohit Sharma is away for the birth of his son, born healthy and all good for him. Congrats to Rohit, but he's not going to be there either. they've got a few youngsters there. Abhimanyu Ishwaran and a few others. Dhruv Jurel back in the side. They've got Jaiswal. Who starts up top? What do we make of this lineup? Kohli, lost to chat about.
What I would say is, I think they'll be happy that they're not playing in India. You would think that, these guys growing up there, they would have played well, but on that New Zealand series, I'm sure they're happy to get away. Any good cricketer will tell you they prefer pace on than these spinny pitches in Asia. So it might be a perfect series for them to get some batting form. I mean, we know all of them do have the ability, so we can't write them off. So I just think that there might be some surprises in that batting lineup in terms of performances.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, Kuva, I think they're probably thanking the lucky stars that they're playing in Australia. I think there won't be a lot of lateral movement, but there'll definitely be pace and carry, and I think the batsmen would love that. Up top, I think you probably go Jaiswal and KL Rahul is your most likely combination. Ishwar in a 3, possibly. What do you guys think?
Lots of ifs, buts, and maybes there. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't
don't
seen
know
much of him.
about him.
Yeah, he's played domestic cricket. I think we know now that he has an average of something like 48. Got a few hundreds there, quite a few hundreds, quite a few 50s. Played decently recently in the Duleep Trophy, but then horrible in that emerging tour between Australia and India, funnily enough. 0-17 and a couple other small scores. Do you throw him in against a pretty good pace attack?
If you don't throw him in, then you got to play Jurel and punt as well. That's what you're going to go for.
You could bet Nitish Kumar already up the order. I don't think that's the worst shot.
You could. I mean, that's another. I think Nitish Kumar was going to get selected anyway. I think he'll get selected ahead of Rana. Because I think they do want to strengthen that batting.
You see, I still think Rana plays regardless. I think that the paces are going to be Bumrah and Harshit Rana. So we were talking about batting, but regardless, let's just talk about that too. So they've got Siraj there, who I don't think has been good in recent times. And I think Harshit Rana was brought in specifically because he has pace. That is something that he has in abundance. And on these pitches...
do you think they're only going to go into 2 seamers?
No, I think
they're going to do 3.
I think we're going to go Siraj, Bumrah,
and then Nitish.
Krishna. Nitish will bowl. Nitish will bowl.
So we're saying they go with 3 out and out plus Nitish and then 1 spinner?
Yeah, 3 out and out plus Nitish, because I think on these Aussie pitches you can't have off spinner.
100%. 100%.
You got to have guys bowling from both ends.
The thing is, though, your off spinner in this case is Ravichandran Ashwin. So
yeah, I would definitely go Ashwin over Jadu. I think is Jadu. Yeah,
Jadu's in the squad. Yeah,
I think you've got to go Ashwin above Jadu. He gives you a bit more. I think he's probably more likely to take wickets. I think Jadu, if you want to hold up an end, possibly a better option, but.
And to be honest, he has been batting better than Jadu in recent times.
Yeah, but then do you not just go washies? I mean, Washington Sundar look great in recent times.
I mean that's another option.
On these pitches
these are all the problems that you have with the freaking 18-man squad.
Inflated squad. I think on these pitches specifically, Australian pitches notoriously a bit more hard, a bit more bounce to extract out of the pitch as compared to the subcontinent pitches. I think the extra height from both Ashwin and Washington Sundar, I think it does wonders. We've seen Nathan Lyon do extremely well in these bilateral series between India and Australia, both in India, but more specifically in Australia. And he's done well in the Ashes and the likes in Australia. I think that maybe they go in and sneak both in, because we've spoken about this in batting lineup, but I think they can pose a lot of challenges to Australian batting lineup, which is a little bit interesting as well, to say the least.
Yeah, I think we just mustn't get confused in 2015 and 2024. I think all the talk again will be Steve Smith and Kohli, but those guys are not the same players they were in 2014 and 2015. we've got to look elsewhere. I think in this series, you're probably going to look more from an Australian perspective, probably Kawaja. It'll be interesting to see how McSweeney goes as well. Those are, and Travis Head, obviously, he's unbelievable coming in low down the order and completely changing momentum of games. You know, if you fall down early, he's someone who can wrestle that sort of momentum back to Australia. And I think for India, I think Jaiswal is going to be a big factor. He's in pretty good form. And it'll be good to see Safraz get a go. I think I don't know if he's done enough to retain his spot after that New Zealand series, but they don't have many options. So I guess
Well, he did score 100, so
he did score 100. So yeah, I guess he'll definitely retain his spot. And then KL Rahul on these wickets, I think he's probably the best suited Indian batsman to bat here, and he's probably most likely to get most of the runs. So yeah, that first test is going to be very interesting. Possibly names that we're not used to getting the bulk of the runs, which is exciting, which is very exciting. But that Australian bowling lineup, set in stone, those are probably the first 4 names you put on your team sheet before you even start looking at the batsmen. So that looks pretty solid.
I think also don't underestimate the Australians, especially playing at home, because this is Australia. They've, this is a champion team, or second best, third best in recent times. And yeah, as good as the Indian side is, going to Australia is a different ball game than playing with 50, 60 meter boundaries.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think just Indian side is going there as underdogs. Definitely, I think Australians are definitely the favourites going to this game, or into the series at least.
We've spoken about who we think is going to score bulk of the runs and all that, but I think we must pay particular attention to both Rohit and Kohli. Do we think, as I said in the preview of one of the shows or during the cricket show the other day, do we think that the form's going to turn around now, or is this the last real showing of these two very great cricketers? I mean, absolutely no disrespect. I mean, we've enjoyed watching them for years, but the slump has been a bit long-lasting. And
you see, I think Rohit there is the bigger problem, or the bigger mystery, because you don't know what he's up to. Because he's just batting at a ridiculous pace up front, and is that the game plan? And it's like that's the game plan, or there's no game plan. He can't seem to bat regular Test cricket anymore, and it either comes off or it doesn't. So it's very much a hit or miss at the top. I think Kohli is a little bit more circumspect, and he is, of the two, I would say he's more likely to find some form in the series. Whereas Rohit might have 6 out of 10 good innings, but flop when they need him the most. That sort of dynamic. You get what I'm saying? It's very hard.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Rohit will come off when your side is chasing 120 with 2 days left in the Test match. Obviously going to chase down. He'll come off and smash 70 of 30 balls. But when you need to bat out the last day, I just don't know what sort of mindset he'll come into the crease with. Like you said, it's at the moment it feels very one-dimensional. Sort of India's version of Bear's ball, which is crazy. And I don't think he'll find a lot of form in the series. I think he either has to change. He has to change the way he plays. He can't go hard from ball one. It doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, it especially doesn't make a lot of sense when Jaiswal's at the other end. Because as Kuva said before, and I think we all recognize, Jaiswal plays best when he goes at it a bit. He scores fast. When he gets held up, doesn't look that great anymore. Ends up nicking off or playing a rash shot, that kind of thing. I think the biggest problem, we were talking about this Baz ball / Gauthi ball slash gum ball, whatever the hell you want to call it. They have all gone hard, which is a bit retarded. We've criticized baseball in the past for being a system where no one really uses their brain at times. And I think India are falling into a very similar trap. on account of showing us more exciting cricket. But I don't think it works if you get bowled out pretty soon. So in Australia, you're going to need to score big scores in first innings more often than not. And if you don't, you're probably going to lose. So there needs to be a little bit of surety. And I think KL might offer them a bit of that. I think he has that in him to just leave outside the off stump for 200 balls. He's shown it here in South Africa where he's literally given us a masterclass on how to leave outside the off stump. But he's not been that great in recent times. So, I don't know.
He's been batting at like 6.
Yeah, they have been chopping and changing around there. I agree. Up top, I think KL's going to.
I mean, you guys know, I'm like one of his biggest fans. He's the reason I started supporting Punjab. So I wish that he does well. I mean, he's been one of my favorite players for a very long time across all nations, not just India. And he's always someone that I want to do well. So I'm glad that he's finally been given a shot. And hopefully he does so well in the first match that
becomes undroppable.
They have he must like score 200. Because like I said, my hatred for Australia runs deeper than mine for India. So I actually want India to do well. I want India to beat Australia. So I hope that KL is a big part of that.
Yeah. I think another thing will be interesting in that first test is how Jasprit handles the captaincy. That is something we probably haven't seen before. And I don't know if you guys have seen any game that way he's captain the side, but I certainly haven't.
I've never.
Ask Travis Head. Kum sent us something. Ask Travis Head about Bumrah.
Travis Head said Bumrah's not a particularly good-looking guy, but he loves the daddy aesthetic of a big Rohit Sharma. But also, I just want to say, guys, we've addressed it before with this attacking Test cricket. India thrive on slower, turning pitches, and if they are going to go into a game with Ravichandran and Jadeja, then they need to bat out so that they can ask Australia to bat on day 4 and 5, where it's going to work in their favor. Going very hard and trying to finish a test in 3 days is not going to work in India's favor, I think.
Agreed.
So, Kums, you're saying that you think they're going to play both spinners?
No, I'm saying if they do. If they do, it'll be to their benefit. But the only way they're going to do that is to drag out the test and not, try and score 500 in 100 overs.
Yeah, no, I understand.
The interesting thing about this current Indian lineup is that they've got a kind of lack of batsmen that can bowl a bit. Usually there would be a secondary option with that can toss up a bit of spin. Because if you go in with one spinner and it does end up playing out such that the spinners are doing well, you bootstrapped. Absolutely no way around it. I mean, most sides have a top order batsman or middle order batsman that can toss up a few offies, or in rare cases a bit more. You got Head in that Australian side. If it really works out for Nathan Lyon, Travis Head probably gets a ball. We saw Glenn Phillips do really well in recent times for New Zealand against these lot as well. India don't have that at all, unless Abhimanyu Ishwaran turns into prime spin king here. I think that they probably have to run the risk of playing two. They've got a lot of batting. Their spinners can bat. All of them can. Between Jadeja, Ashwin, and Washies, they can all bat. So I don't think you lose too much in going there if you play Nitish Kumar Reddy as a third seamer.
Well, I mean, the way this
point.
But I mean, the way this Indian selection committee rates punt, I'm assuming punt is probably also a brilliant leg spinner. You might take the gloves off and go some googlies and shit. Maybe that's why they didn't want them to see them in the net. You don't know.
I mean, you probably onto something there. Maybe Rishabh Pant has been working on his googlies behind the scene. And that's, they're going to open a border
with punch. Freaking gulgulas.
Rohit loves laddus and Pant loves gulgulas. So, okay, that's how it's going to go. Now, we kind of digress a little bit there on Jasprit as captain. Were there really any other better options? I mean, make Kohli the captain again?
Give it to Kohli again. You've got to give it to Kohli again. that was a no-brainer to me. Yes, Jasprit's the vice captain side, but you make him vice captain as potentially the future going forward or whatever. But when it does come to captain the side, let's say Rohit falls out, you got to give it to Kohli. You got to give it to Kohli.
No,
Like,
agreed.
I haven't seen a lot of Jasprit as a captain. I've seen him add to the captaincy conundrum at Mumbai, where he obviously, as a very good bowler and a genuine cricketer, he can offer you insight. But I don't see how he runs the rooster, like how he controls the scene and sets everything up throughout the test. I think it takes a little bit more and probably a little bit more experience in doing that in the first place. And in all honesty, Jasprit is a great white ball bowler. He's very good in test cricket because he can do a lot to the ball. But he often finds himself, especially in this side, he often finds himself kind of lost in the battle because if batsmen just leave him alone, they kind of get away more often than not. In spells, he goes ballistic and is unplayable. But we've seen a lot in recent times where he's fairly anonymous. A wicket or two in an innings, and that's about it. So I don't know. I think Jasprit's a very interesting one.
For me also, I find it very interesting because Jasprit's also the type of cricketer that you just leave him alone as a specialist.
Yes.
You ask him to put his hand up and do something, you call on him, and then he gets lost in the game. But not in a bad way, you know.
Yeah.
You don't really see him with his mouth. The only other one I could think of was, what about Ashwin?
I think that would have been a good shot. Or maybe they don't want to start him. That is the
They might not even make the squad. They might not even make the starting 11.
What about the golden boy?
Punt.
Punt. What about him? Exactly.
Look, I've seen stranger things happen. I don't think Punt's going to be able to captain any side, but
I think bottom line, we all feel that there are better options than Jasprit.
Yeah. Hey, if anyone wants to disagree with us in the comments, let us know.
And if he's going to be your gun bowler, he's going to be the gun bowler for India. I mean, looking at that lineup, he's definitely the go-to bowler. So do you really want to do anything that might jeopardize his bowling performance?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it also makes him question when he should be bowling or when he shouldn't be bowling.
Correct.
Because normally the captain throws you in and you're just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go gun 5 over spell here, absolutely blast it out. Maybe he in his head feels like, yo, I feel like I can get a wicket, but then if I bowl myself, are people gonna think I'm doing it because I have control now? I think it brings about extra questions in his mind that he just doesn't need to have, because as we're saying, you leave him alone, he usually does things. I've said that he can go missing at times, but he's not doing anything bad in that time. If he bowls you 8 overs, you can get 8 good overs. If the batsmen leave well, he doesn't get wickets. If they don't, he gets a lot of wickets. So, I don't know. I think bad move from them. There's not too many options.
Yeah. It's a bad move as well, only because it's a once-off thing.
Yes.
Give it to someone who's done it before. Like Divi is saying. If it's a one-off, just give it to Kohli.
Correct. I mean, you had other options as well. I mean, KL, if he's going to start, KL's not a bad option. He's captain before.
Yes.
So, cool. Yeah, you make a good point. It's a one-off. I mean, if it was for them 4 or 5 matches, I'd say fine. If Jasprit's your vice captain, you have to go with it. But
if he bombs in the first match, he's got a chance.
You got a chance, yeah. If it's one-off, yeah.
I think this goes back to as you mentioned earlier, Divi. I think this was off camera. Sunil Gavaskar in his comments about Rohit not being captain, but there aren't many better options. That's the problem. So when he comes back in, Rohit has to go straight in.
He has to.
So there's a lot of conundrums, as you said, at the Indian side. I don't know, like usually when India are going to Australia, and because of their fairly good record in the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, they go in as favourites. We've said now that we all think that they go in as underdogs here. How many do we think those two big boys that I started off this whole section with, how many do we think they're going to get? Give me a rough figure, each of you. How many do you think Rohit's going to get? How many do you think Kohli's going to get across the 5 tests? And I don't really care about that game against the Prime Minister's 11, but across the 5 tests, how many do you think we're going to get?
I think Rohit's got 1 good innings game, maybe 2. So I'll say Rohit around 250, 300.
That's on the low side?
Yeah, and Kohli closer to 400.
Okay. Divi?
Yeah, I'm with you there, Kuva. I reckon it'll be a surprise if Rohit gets anything over 300 runs. If he does, That's a good series for him.
If he does, they'll probably win the series.
Well, if he does, then the test match is over in 3 days. Because we know he's going to go hard.
Yeah, 300 runs. Yeah, and Kohli, I'm a bit more optimistic on Kohli. I think he does perform well when his sort of backs against the wall, I
Yeah.
guess. And I've been listening to sort of the Australian media who've still similar conversations what they had 9 years ago. Don't get into a fight with Kohli, but I think the Australian sort of mentality will eventually sort of peek through and they probably will have a bit of a go at him, and I think that's where he'll probably show up the best. I think you'll get to maybe 450, 500. I think that would be a good tour for Kohli.
It's very
He's done it before.
close to a 50 average.
Close to 50 average.
Yeah.
That's my
I'm going to side with Divi there. I think Rohit is 300-ish, and I think Kohli doubles his score because I'm more optimistic about Kohli coming back than Rohit. Yeah.
I will say I think Jaiswal outscores them both.
Oof.
Huh.
That's
Oh, wow.
I think
Sure.
I think if KL gets a run, he outscores all of them.
I think Pant will score 1,000 runs.
now he's just taking the piss. Rishabh Pant.
You should
BCCI
put
president.
Simpson on the first flight from Johannesburg to Perth. That's what it should.
So
Did they make a documentary of Pant's last escapade in Australia?
is there?
Where he scored the runs at the Gabba.
Yeah, where he won the test, and I think they won the series in that
Yeah.
game. Yeah, so they made it seem like, oh wow, he came in there and he didn't fear, he just went for it, and he scored the runs. Or wickets were falling around him. But if you look at those shots, they were like T20 shots. It just came off on the day, I guess.
Exactly. But
But I think it all lies with the openers, whoever they are. Get India off to a good start, then the rest of the batting lineup can follow.
I think Rohit's he's probably going to really struggle, but I think there's always a possibility that he'll get a big knock in one innings and kind of make it look like he was decent in the series as a whole. But I think he's going to offer them very little apart from his captaincy, and if he gets that wrong, they're going to get thumped in the series. I'm kind of on the same train as you, Kuv. I don't want them to exactly get thumped. I want to see good cricket. I want to see an ebb and flow of both. And I think Australia are the favourites here. And in general terms, when you're hoping for good cricket, you're hoping that the underdogs do something. We don't call India underdogs very often, but I think they are here. And I think it'll be nice to see Rohit and Kohli fire, albeit very unlikely. I don't think Kohli is going to have the same impact that he's had in the past, as Divi spoke about earlier. I think there's a few more problems than there usually are with Kohli's game. And as much as the Australians are being very respectful, because I think, as you said, they don't want to get into that fight and spur him on to do something. But I think even they recognize it's not the same Kohli as it was. And if he does perform, he's outperforming everything that should be happening. So with that bowling lineup, very hard for me personally, I think. Yeah.
And Australia, what do you guys think is the top scorer there in Australia?
Marnus.
Marnus.
I think Marnus does well here.
Say me what your name is.
I reckon Travis Head our top scores again. He's
similar story though.
Kawaja.
Uzi can do great. I think Uzi can do great because he's patient. Something that we don't see from too many of these cricketers around him. Kums, you told us something very nice in the last cricket show, and I don't think many people listened to it, but if you didn't, go catch that. He said that same story with Australia. You want to continue the rest of the sentence for me when you spoke about the imbeciles around him?
Yeah, no, I mean, we know this, but I don't think it's that pronounced in the test scene as it is in the one day and the T20 scene. But that's the blueprint. You play Marnus and Smith, and then you just play people that go for it around it. Yeah, maybe Kerry has a bit of a head in this game, but all the other batsmen, Josh Inglis, Travis Head, I won't be surprised even if Khawaja comes out swinging. We know Marsh is not going to defend up top. So, yeah. Oh, and then one more point. I think Stark will be the key here. Left arm pace. That Indian team still struggles. So yeah.
Do we think Stark outperforms all the other paces on the scene here?
I think the Indian lineup, they will struggle with Hazelwood's consistency. He won't give them much. They'll have to go searching. And I think that's where he's going to get a few wickets.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kuva. I'm a big fan of Josh Hazelwood. He doesn't get as much sort of plaudits as Pat Cummins or Mitchell Stark, but he's a proper bowler, that guy, and I think he'll do well in the series. I think he'll be the top wicket taker for Australia.
Okay, we're going. The Coombs is going Hazelwood. You guys are. I mean, Coombs is going Stark. You guys are going Hazelwood. I think.
Do you guys think anything about Scotty Boland though?
I don't think he starts.
I don't think he starts, but I think
plays,
he's a great bowler. I think he definitely offers you something.
I think he will play in the series. I think because the 5-match test is one seam is bound to break down somewhere. So I think he will play.
Likely.
And he is a proper wicket taker, Scotty Boland. But I think at least the first test, you got to go with your 4 frontliners. And
I think the wickets are going to come from a spinner here. I think Nathan Lyon's going to do well, and it's going to go.
Wow.
It's going to go back to my conversation with you guys about. I don't think these guys are great at playing spin. I think KL is. I think he's going to be fine if he plays more often than not. I think the others all have a little lapse in there somewhere. They try to go hard or they think they're better than they are at playing spin. And then I think we can agree, if these tests end in 3 days, more likely than not Australia are going to win. If they drag on to 5 days and then you start using pitch conditions, that's when the real cricket's going to get played. So I think if the top order survive, then
in that New Zealand series, do you think New Zealand took more wickets than India gave away?
I don't know. I think they
one.
bowled well in patches, yes. And for some reason, Ajaz Patel has this ridiculous record in Mumbai. It's like unheard of. He has a way better strike rate than any Indian at the ground. Going back to the Santner special, if we can call it that, because he was pretty good. He bowled well. He got a fair bit of turn, varied his pace a bit, got a lot of bounce. Always makes it a bit more difficult to play. But yeah, they looked uncertain. Not as assured normally, resorting to the sweep more than usual. Indian cricketers are generally very good at playing spin, or they were in the past, as we've said before. But they looked like they weren't used to it. It looked like they hadn't been dealing with it for a while. And I think not many teams have challenged them on that front, even though they probably face a lot of spin in the nets. I don't think many have challenged them. And now that Australia definitely know, look, this is probably an in for a change. Normally Nathan Lyon is there as he's going to hold up one end. I think now he's a wicket taker in this team.
He's not that
It's
good of a bowler.
The first match, remember, it's a drop-in pitch. We don't really expect spinners to do extremely well on those type of pitches. But you never know.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about like a Wanindo Hasaranga or something, or like a specialist spinner, I'd say let's fear him. But I mean, then again, the counter argument is that Glenn Phillips shot these Indians, so I don't know.
Lyon has a ton of wickets in these series, and Gary is I think he's a good spinner. Look, he's got a lot of wickets and like he'll always be ranked up there. But on the same token, there's not a lot of cricket fans that will go Nathan Lyon, one of the best spinners ever. It's just not going to happen. Maybe as an Aussie, you could do that.
Consistency for the last 12 years.
So as much as I'm saying that about Lyon, I think Zampa could always come into the side, and then maybe you get more.
I'd fear Zampa more than Lyon.
Yeah, no, I think the Indian batsman as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I think from a test perspective, Lyon is probably your better bet anyway. I think Zampa, he's not tested at the test level yet. Yes, he might have the odd ball that turns more than Nathan Lyon, but in terms of consistency, You probably want your spinner to be a bit more accurate and a bit more sort of probing than get one that turns all of a sudden.
Yes.
So they'll probably go line. I think Zamba's a good bet, but not for me.
What you're saying is you get a bit more Shamsi than Keshav with Zampa. And
Correct. No, I agree. Exactly. You might be a wicket taker, but 3, 4, 120 and 17 overs is not right.
Yeah. No, but I think scientifically also what you're saying is in the shorter form, if Zampa is bowling, you have to clear his balls. You can't,
Yeah.
dot up that end.
Yeah.
And Lyon is a type of bowler that makes you have to play. And with Zampa, you could probably just leave and say, you know what, it's fine, just bowl. I don't care. Whereas Lyon gives you as a batsman that indecisiveness where you have to play rather than, yeah.
That is something that I think, going back to it, that I think Santner did well. Lots of balls on the stumps, and as you're saying there, Lyon will do pretty much the same thing. That's one thing we can more or less guarantee. So yeah, so okay, we are all of the belief that, you guys are of the belief that the Pacers are going to come out trumps here, and as it is naturally in Australia on Australian pitches, that should be the case. But I'm just on this train about India and spin as of late, and I think that's what will happen. Now, before we close up the shop, let's go with predictions then. First, I want overall highest run scorers in the series. We have spoken about the Indian batsmen, but overall top run scorers, and then top wicket taker and your overall series prediction as well.
I reckon Travis said top run scorer, leading wicket taker Josh Hazlewood, and prediction 3-1 to Australia, the one drawn test, and India win one at the Gabba again.
Okay. I'll go Jaiswal, top run scorer. I also want to say Hazelwood, but that's boring. Let's go with, for shits and giggles, let's say Cummins.
Okay.
And I think 2 drawn test matches, India win 2-1.
That'll be wonderful for the WTC.
I think there are no drawn test matches because of the mentality of both these sides. Unless, of course, weather comes and plays a part. But my prediction is going to be 3-2 to Australia. You guys know I'm going for Stark. I think Hazelwood and his consistency frustrates batsmen on that end. They come and they try and go at Stark and he gets the wicket. My top run scorer is Marnus.
Cool. I'm also going Marnus top run scorer. He's going to do well. I like that guy, Marnus. And then we could take an end, even though I think Lyon will be the best of the lot for Australia. I think on the Indian end, depending on if he plays enough, I think Ashwin's going to do well. Always a problem. He's always a problem, whether you like it or not. He's always a problem. So I think Ashwin will do well. Overall series prediction, I think that Australia are going to climb these guys 4-1, even though I don't want it to happen. I think they're going to absolutely smash India. Personal opinion, I think there's too many problems in that Indian side at the moment, too many questions to be answered. If they do answer those questions, this is going to be a fantastic test series to watch. Now, if you guys think any of our opinions are absolutely flawed, stupid, or retarded, drop it in the comments. Let us know what you think differently. I think this is probably the best set of World Test Championship cricket going on at the moment. We're going to have a lot of action coming up, and we'll give you updates as we go along, including a series review when this is all done in the cricket show. If you enjoyed this episode, know that you can also catch us on all the audio platforms. Drop us a like, hit subscribe. Take care, and please don't forget to pour a shot.